1 minute. Good evening. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the school board meeting this Tuesday, April 5, 2022. The public is encouraged and welcome to address the school board at the hearing of citizens. The board clerk, Kathy Tompkins, to my left, will collect the cards for our hearing of citizens. And since the board meeting has started, we should have all of the citizen hearing cards that we will accept. No more will be collected. We'll call you forward at the appropriate time. I'd like us all to stand now for the flag salute under the direction of Venice High School's Marine Corps JROTC and the direction of retired Master Gunnery Sergeant Frank Troxel. We will be led by the student representative, Jaden Ray. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. And now we'll have a wonderful performance featuring the Triad rock stars led by their Music of the World teacher and band director Brian Upholtz. The students are Desmond Kennedy, Savannah Farnsworth, Gavin Wright, and Isaac Santos. The Triad music program has been supported through many partnerships, including a full set of instruments through our Modern Band Grant impacting school district-wide. The grant was generously funded by the Berincic Foundation. Enjoy the Triad rock star rendition of Michael Jackson's Beat It. Wow, that was just great. I know how hard you must work on this, and we'll give you a minute to get your instruments together and move out before we move on to the next part of our program. Thank you again. It was wonderful. And Melanie Ritter, your principal, is here, and Melanie does such a great job at the school. So thank you to everyone at Triad. We really appreciate you being here. I don't know. I'm sorry, Mrs. Brown.
Yeah, I want to thank you all for coming too. And, I think it's so wonderful. Too often, too many people feel that if the kid makes a mistake, they just throw them away, just move them away. And I am so glad that we are reaching out and you guys are showing us that you are not throwaway kids. You deserve a place in our school, and you deserve a place in our community and in our future. Thank you so much for being here and participating in our meeting tonight.
I have been involved with Triad for a number of years, and Melanie Ritter is a great leader, and the staff has had some challenges with full staffing the last year or so, a couple of years, but they're just doing great things for these students. And thank you, Melanie Ritter. We love you. And now let's talk about our student representative, who's really a very special gal. I don't know how she could do more things than she does. I met her last week at a luncheon, the Shining Stars Luncheon, when she was a recipient of an award, and I know that she's involved in a lot of things. And she is our student representative today, and she's from Venice High School. And welcome, Jaden, and I gave you a presentation and a memento for you for serving on our board today, and I thank you for that. First, I'd like to ask you to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you plan to do with your life. I know that's an interesting story.
So before I introduce myself, I'd like to thank the Sarasota County School Board for allowing me to sit in on this meeting. I think it's so amazing that our county includes its students so heavily and believe it's what truly separates us from other areas as the best. My name is Jaden Ray, and I've attended Sarasota County schools my whole life, beginning right down the road at Philippi Shores Elementary. I'm currently a senior at Venice High School, and I serve as a student body president, and I'm active in various presidencies and activities around campus. I love spending time pouring into my church, Church of the Palms, as a student leader and mentor, and I also intern at the 180 House of Venice, which is a nonprofit dedicated to using community volunteers to get involved in the life of local teens and help them grow their faith. Beyond this school year, I plan to attend Florida State University, where I'll be studying psychology, which is something I've actually been fascinated by since my freshman year at Venice, when I took AP Psychology and moved on with our IB Psychology courses that are offered. An end goal of my future is most definitely to open a nonprofit dedicated to helping individuals addicted to drugs and alcohol, and that's just a little bit about me. So thank you.
Well, that's all wonderful, and we are certainly looking forward to getting to know you better and following you as you go off to Tallahassee, a wonderful school. Can you tell us now a little bit about the Civility Squad character trait for April and how that has affected you?
Of course. So I was asked to share on the Civility Squad character trait, which states, stay positive, keep your energy upbeat. It's a surefire way to battle defeat. All I have to say is this is a mindset I think everyone wishes to have 24/7, but in reality, it can be tiring. This quote is especially relevant to me as one of the ones in the class of 2022, as the dreaded senioritis, which, might I add, is a real sickness, kicks in. This serves as a reminder to keep your head up and work hard to obtain your end goals and to continue pushing forward while soaking in the last 45 days of high school, a time that will be cherished forever. Speaking of memories, I will forever remember the positive recollections I have associated on the Venice campus with our positive support staff. I will always note Miss Frimmel's upbeat energy Friday mornings as she jams out to the music she plays on her speaker in the hallway, and the uplifting sayings on the stairwell that serve as reminders to keep your head up and never fail to put a smile on my face on a slow Monday morning. Staying positive is a character trait I strive to exemplify to my peers whenever I can, and a goal I will continue to carry throughout my whole life. Combined with high energy and a good attitude, one will be sure to finish any battle they may be fighting with confidence and thoroughness. I think this is a beautiful reminder to not only students, but also teachers, parents, administration, and all of the individuals who tirelessly work to support our schools in this county. While your gas tanks may be running low, keep in mind the finish line is so close. Keep working hard to make this school year the greatest you can, and if all of us work hard, if all of us combined can make this happen, I'm certain that as a Sarasota County Schools family, we will defeat this year with successes and create memories that will last a lifetime.
Mr. Edwards.
I think you might have been a little modest over there when you said that you have various presidencies. Would you just tell us how many presidents or how many presidencies you have and what clubs you belong to?
So I serve as the student body president at Venice, and I also serve as the president of Think Pink, which is a service club dedicated to cancer and raising money for the American Cancer Society. I also participate in Challenger Baseball Club, and I'm a member. and I also am a mentor for IND students along with that club. So those are just a few of the things I'm involved with.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you again, and we look forward to hearing about you as you move off into Florida State. And I wish all your dreams come true, because I know you've worked really hard and been very involved, and that's so impressive. So thank you again. Next up, we have some special presentations this evening. The first presentation tonight is celebrating the STEM Fair, one of my favorite things. And of course, we've not done as well with our STEM Fair since we've had the pandemic. We've done things virtually as opposed to in person. So I'd like to invite the district science specialist to the podium, Dr. Sarah Burkhart, Beverly Stansel, and Sherry Dame for this presentation, please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dr. Sarah Burkett, and I'm the High School Science Program Specialist, and I'm also one of the co-directors of the Sarasota County STEM Fair, along with my middle school counterpart, Miss Beverly Stansel, and elementary, Miss Sherry Dame. Sarasota County strives to continue our long-standing commitment to stimulating students, teacher, and public interest in the STEM Fair, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, with our annual County STEM Fair, which allows students an authentic opportunity to use scientific method and engineering design in order to process and answer questions and try and solve problems. Out of an abundance of caution, again this year we decided to hold the event virtually. So we continued to use the ZFairs platform, and that has provided us with the technology to bring student projects to life via images and also videos as well. It also allowed us to collect student paperwork, host and score judging, and tabulate the student results. School participation, again, was voluntary this year, and the project enabled both students and teachers to continue to enhance digital literacy skills through district-supported software. Approximately 100 community members gave their time and expertise to focus on our student work and provide feedback during the week-long event. Each of our participating schools received a specially curated presentation that highlighted their fair's participants and winners that could be shared with the entire student body, along with certificates, ribbons, and prize packages. Ms. Stansel? Oh, sorry.
A little difficult, it's showing different.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to share tonight. I'm going to present some of our data from this year's fair. Here's a breakdown of this year's participation by level. With 34 schools entering projects into our county competition, the overall participation this year increased by 65% over last year. Next year, we hope to blend the virtual aspects of the STEM fair with our more traditional in-person components and look forward to inspiring more of Sarasota's young scientists and engineers to participate in the annual event. That's our hope. Special thanks to the Education Foundation of Sarasota for funding a gift to recognize the amazing efforts of our school site coordinators who go above and beyond to support our students. We have two students who are going to speak of their experience with the STEM Fair this year. Speaking first is Abigail Tuttle, a third grade student at Brentwood Elementary School, and Abigail will be followed by Jack Wardlaw, a senior at Venice High School.
My science fair project was about the birthday paradox. The birthday paradox states that in a random group of 23 people, there is a 50% chance that 2 people will have the same birthday. I collected data from 3 different sample groups: Brentwood students, FC soccer players, and Major League Baseball players. After reviewing and analyzing this data, I was able to prove that the birthday paradox is in fact true. My data showed that in a random group of 23 people, there is a 50% chance that 2 people will have the same birthday. What I learned from participating in the STEM fair is that it is always important to plan ahead. There was a lot of data to be collected and analyzed for this project, and I couldn't do it all in one night. I enjoyed being able to be creative and decorate my board. Overall, participating in the STEM fair was a great experience.
Hi everyone, my name is Jack Wardlaw and I'm a senior at Venice High School. So over the last week, I had the privilege of participating at the State Science and Engineering Fair in Lakeland, Florida, with several students behind me. And here, middle schoolers and high schoolers from all over Florida compete and present their projects to various judges. I think it's very important that students like myself had the opportunity to conduct extended research and then present it on a competitive level to judges that are experts in our respective fields. And I also think it was a great opportunity to meet like-minded peers and see what other middle schoolers and high schoolers are doing in our state to try and build a better tomorrow. And of course, I know that opportunity wouldn't be possible without the support of my parents, teachers, and Sarasota County Schools. So thank you.
And just a note, Abby is a 5th grader at Brentwood, excuse me. Thank you, Abby and Jack. As Jack mentioned, along with 11 other middle and high school students, they participated in the State Science and Engineering Fair last week. Let's go ahead and meet all of those representatives now. So as your names are called, please make your way to the front for recognition, and please stay up front. We will end with a photo, so we want you to stay up here until that time. Our middle school students are from Pineview, and they are Rohan Dash, and Adi Benzdadia. Representing Venice High School, Jack Wardlaw, and Alexia King. From Sarasota High School, Ella Menke, Anna Davis Lenardi, Jessica Ritchie, Anya Schwartzbauer, Reagan Walter, Skylar Woods, Nicholas Cox, and Riley Mulholland. The elementary STEM fair is open to students in grades 3 through 5, and students can participate in 5 categories. I'd like to recognize the students who took top honors as the overall category winner in these 5 categories. I have a feeling we will continue to see these names shining in future STEM endeavors. As I call your name again, please join us up front. Representing Brentwood Elementary, Abigail Tuttle in the Mathematics and Technology category. In the Earth and Space Science category, Emma Gambert from Ashton Elementary. Representing Pineview School, Caitlin Griffin in the Engineering category. In Life Science, Lila Mogford from Venice Elementary. And Elizabeth Patrick from Taylor Ranch Elementary in the Physical Science category.
Unfortunately, some of our senior category representatives had other after-school activities and extracurriculars and were unable to attend this evening. But of those that are up here and that you see in front of you, several of them did win special awards at the State Science and Engineering Fair. Adi Benzdadia placed 4th in the engineering category and also was awarded the Lemelson Award. Rohan Dash placed 3rd in the mathematics and computational science category. Nicholas Cox and Riley Mulholland had a team project that placed 4th in earth and environmental sciences, and Jack Wardlaw placed 5th in physics and astronomy. Some other honorable mentions were Alexia King, who got a 6th place merit award for physics and astronomy, Skylar Ward, who placed 6th with earth and environmental sciences, and Jessica Ritchie, who was awarded the Florida Association of Science Supervisors Award. And of those that participated in state, we have a team project and Mr. Jack Wardlaw, who will also be attending ISIF and participating in our International Science and Engineering Fair. So Nicholas Cox, Riley Mulholland, and Jack Ward are our representatives for the International Science and Engineering Fair. All right, so thanks for joining. We're going to take a picture, and this will conclude our celebration of the 2022 STEM Fair. It's been our pleasure to share these amazing opportunities and student celebrations with you this evening.
What great student achievement. Congratulations again to all of you. The next presentation highlights Riverview High School's Discovery Academy. I'd like to invite Mr. Steve Cantees, Executive Director of Secondary Schools, to the podium for this presentation, please, along with several other people.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Yep, okay. So good evening, School Board Chair Goodwin, Vice Chair Mr. Edwards, Superintendent Asplin, school board members, Mr. McKinley, and Jordan. Welcome to the school board meeting. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing a very special program we have here in Sarasota County. When you think about the opportunities that our students have in Sarasota County, they're varied and opportunities that students have to take advantage of. At Riverview High School, there's been a program designed for students who, as they explore and they look to their future, it's a very special program. It's specially designed for those students. That program creates an environment that's absolutely dedicated to meet the needs of the individual students as they prepare for their future and tomorrow. It creates partnerships and mentorships to help those students be successful. And through training and facilitation, it helps students through the challenges with care and sensitivity. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ms. Del Castillo, Principal Del Castillo from Riverview High School, and she'll take it from there. Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent, school board members, Mr. McKinley and Ms. Ray. Thank you for having us this evening. It is an honor to be here tonight with our team to discuss the Discovery Academy. Some of you have had an opportunity to see the celebrations of our students and really see the growth when we celebrate those little successes. And we truly do believe, if you look behind me, it really takes a village. And that village that we have is pretty amazing. So without further ado, they're going to give you the mission and the vision, and hopefully we can give a little bit more light on pathways for all of our students to be successful in Sarasota County and at Riverview High School. So I'm going to introduce Miss Leandra Yates, one of our APs. Thank you.
So as a team, we felt it was really important that all of you listening here in person and then virtually really understood our why. Why did we think that Discovery Academy needed to exist? Why did we feel that we needed to make adjustments as the year progressed? And we are so excited to highlight these things today with you. Our vision at Discovery Academy is that we believe creating partnerships with students will empower and maximize the student experience at Riverview High School. By building relationships and focusing on each student's individual needs, the program provides opportunities for students to demonstrate their strengths, use and find their voice, and embrace their uniqueness. With access to an adult mentor or peer advisor, students will find the level of support appropriate for their educational pathway. This is in hopes that they will find their own individual success beyond graduation. I'm going to hand this off to Mr. Teal, who has been instrumental in making sure that we have connected with majority of our partnerships in Sarasota County.
Hi, first off, I'd like to say thank you guys for allowing us to be here to speak on Discovery Academy. In addition to the adult mentor that we have, what we do is we provide students with an opportunity to be in a small group setting of no more than 10 kids. And in that group, students get to discuss emotions that they deal with on an everyday basis, every day that teenagers wake up in the morning, such as anxiety and depression. They get to speak with issues that they deal with at home, and together they get to work through these problems and find ways to overcome them. So that's what we mean when we talk about strengthening the community. So with that being said, we have these celebrations where they get together and we get to honor them for their academic successors and their behavior successors. And it all starts in that small group session. So next up, I'd like to welcome Dr. Heather Wasserman up to the stage.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to be here to represent Riverview High School and share our success. So I get to talk about how this has impacted our students, and we look at the data to help us show all of the successes. So 59% of our students maintained or increased their GPA from quarter 2 to quarter 3. We started this program in October. I think the pandemic caused a lot of delay and challenges, but we've all sat together as a team. It does take a village, and we're excited to see all of those growths that we've had. Over 80% of our students maintained or improved attendance, as well as increasing their school expectations and having the right behavior at school. And this is just between quarter 2 to quarter 3. The average GPA for all of our students that are within this academy for quarter 3 was a 3.04. So to me, that's a huge accomplishment for our students. 85% of those students have a 2.0 or above as well, which is amazing because that is something that some of these students are striving to get to. So we celebrate all of our students. And Mr. Teal talked about the celebrations. So every quarter, we hold a celebration for our students, and some of the board members and Dr. Asplin have been there to see that. And for quarter 3, 279 certificates were provided to our students because we recognize them for showing growth in the grades and attendance and the school expectations. And this was exciting for us to give that out. So 80% or more students showed growth in at least one or more areas. So that was extremely exciting for all of us to have that celebration, to see the smiles on their faces. We know that this creates success, so we're excited about the program. So I would like to introduce one of our students who is a mentee, Mr. Caden Cottrell.
Hello, my name is Kenan Cottrell and I'm a senior at Riverview High School. What it means to have a mentor is like having a parent or guardian, but at school. You can open up and ask questions. They give you a chance to get personal when needed. They help us prepare for jobs when we leave school, and they even help us with homework. When we do something wrong at school, they talk with us and give us better ways to handle and deal with our issues. There is always more than one way to handle a situation, and they give us better options to choose from so that next time we can make better decisions. School can be very stressful and overwhelming at times, and to have a mentor to speak to really helps in those situations. Since having a mentor, I have learned how to make better choices. I have become more confident in myself and my abilities, and I have come out of my shell, so to speak. I have made many new friends along the way, and that really helps to know that you are not alone. My grades have greatly improved since I had a mentor. I'm doing things that I never thought I would be able to do. My grades are the highest they have ever been, and I will meet my goal of graduating this year with a 3.0 for my overall GPA for high school. And I couldn't have been more successful if it wasn't for having a mentor and being part of the Discovery Academy. I'm not sure where I would be without him. Up next, Miss Dana LeBlanc.
Hi, I'd like to talk to you guys about what it means to be a mentor and have a mentor. I saw a TED Talk recently about a teacher with a class full of below average students. And starting at the beginning of the year, the teacher told the students day in and day out that they were hand selected because they were special and they were bright, and she filled them with this message day in and day out, every day. And by the end of the year, these students had outperformed all the other classes in every way. And this is a testimony to what happens when someone believes in you and believes that you're meant for greatness. And this is the thing. Every child is meant for greatness. Everybody is meant for greatness. And can a child achieve these things on their own, their highest potential? Maybe, possibly, but imagine if a child had a mentor in their corner to push them, to advocate for them, to believe in them, connect them with opportunities they probably wouldn't have otherwise. And research tells us that kids that have at least one healthy adult in their life will more than likely be successful. And for some kids, that's a mentor, that their healthy adult is a mentor. Some statistics of kiddos that have a mentor, they're 78% less likely to skip school. They're 55% more likely to enroll in college, and they're 130% more likely to hold a leadership position later on in life. Mentoring connects young people to personal growth and development, as well as social and economic growth. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the profound impact it also has on the mentor. As a mentor, I can speak this into truth. It's an honor and a privilege to pour back into our youth, and it's our duty as members in our community. Our personal experiences and challenges become the educational tools we can use to guide the next generation onto a life of success. And I would like to introduce the lovely Miss Karen Hamlin, who is a teacher at Riverview.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Asplin. The Discovery Academy was created and implemented in October 2021 with the primary goal of creating a community for students who were paired with mentors that created a sense of belonging in the overall school community and increased individual sense of self-worth. To accomplish this, a platform to showcase the students' achievement in academics, personal growth, and social skill development was created that further helped them feel that they are part of something meaningful at Riverview. The Discovery Academy as a team is a high-performance leadership team, a team that is motivated to deliver excellence by meeting the challenges with a profound passion for the achievement of our mission, and that's the success of every student. This team includes students, mentors, staff, teachers, directors, and administrators. This team shares a genuine mindset that every student is valuable and that their tomorrows are important and that every student can meet their dreams with some intervention. This team is success-driven. It invests their time, their talents, and their resources in this continued commitment. They go above and beyond, working toward the success of each student. The outcome of this program, ladies and gentlemen, is this team's commitment is the team is dedicated to building more engaged students through a community that provides caring support for all students. And it's not a one-stop shop fits all, it's all sizes fit. The ultimate impact is this program is directly felt and seen at Riverview High School community and beyond in the community of Sarasota as a whole. Would the Discovery Academy team please stand? The Discovery Academy is the epitome of working as one for the success of all. Thank you.
So that concludes the presentation. I do want to recognize the hard work that they're doing at Riverview High School as they've designed this academy. Karen, amazing work. Thank you for all the support and everybody that is part of the team. Kathy Chamberlain and all the mentors that participate. Just an amazing job. So thank you.
Mr. Edwards?
I just want to congratulate the Discovery Academy team, particularly Karen Hamblin. I know that everyone has worked so hard. I've watched this grow from October when you started to those amazing statistics that you shared, and you all should be proud of the hard work, the team and the students. Job well done.
I would like to thank the mentoring organizations that have been and meant so much to these students. I can remember when Kathy Chamberlain, a dear friend, started with Faces of Accomplishment, and that, how long ago was that, Kathy? 5 years? It seems like 2. But, you know, time is strange these days. But I just know that all the mentors and the mentoring organizations are so very vital and important. The teachers, the staff, the instructors, the administration, you know, this is what it's all about. I was a teacher many, many years ago, and the students that I taught were those students that would likely be in the Discovery Academy. And it was very fulfilling to me, and that's the kind of student that, to me, just makes my heart sing. So I want to say thank you all. I want to thank the students that spoke, the wonderful tale I know you're going to have. Mr. Cottrell, I know you're going to have a wonderful life ahead of you. I'm looking forward to hearing great things about you next year, and thank you all. Mrs. Brown.
I too wanted to thank you all, and especially Karen. I mean, you've been there. You've been fighting this fight. And somehow it seems like an uphill battle. You'll never get there, but it's like the little engine that could. You kept on going. You kept on going. And you have made a difference in so many children's lives, and as has your team. And, you know, Kathy, you're there too. I've, you know, in different hats, you've been wearing them all around. It is so important. And I know I wished I had had one person, one adult that was there for me when I was in high school and led me down the right path. I think I had some things that helped it, but dropping out of school was the worst thing that I could have done. But there wasn't anyone to help me. I mean, I should have been off to college, but there wasn't anyone there guiding me. And, and I can't blame my mother. I mean, she was raised in an orphanage and whatnot and was going through traumas of her own. But we need, when there isn't somebody in the home that can help, for one reason or another, there's issues at home. And the teachers alone can't do it. It's the community that comes forward as these mentors, or sometimes our teachers are our mentors. They make a difference. And I think all of you out there that have had a teacher or a mentor that have made a difference, it would be nice to pick up the phone or send an email and say thank you. Thank you for making a difference. And all of you, thank you for making a difference in these kids' lives.
Dr. Asplin.
Yes, I want to echo what Ms. Brown said there. Thank you for the difference you are making. You're making a very positive difference, and I want to say I've been very impressed this year how it has all come together between teachers and parents and mentors and the administration at Riverview High School. Everyone working together to make this happen and start the Discovery Academy. It's just been terrific. I know also at the award ceremonies going there and watching the students. First of all, they're all there. And most of them are receiving an award. And like you said, it's for attendance, GPA, and behavior. And these students are doing so well. And when they go up there to get their award and they turn around, they have that smile on their face and they're heading back to, and they're getting high fives from their friends and everybody else. And it's just really great to see. And like I said, you all are definitely making a positive impact on the students. So thank you all so much for what you have done at Riverview High School. It's amazing. Also, I wanted to congratulate the STEM Fair students. Let them know that, through their hard work and commitment, they can do anything. And they are pretty amazing students, and we're very, very proud of them. And then also the band from Triad over there. I know at the beginning of the year, I think they had one person in that band. And now it has grown a little bit, and I think each person in the band probably, this is their first year with their instruments, and they just did a really, really great job, and kudos to the teacher out there at Triad for helping those students along as well. So thank you very much.
Mrs. Ziegler?
Thank you. I want to be brief and thank you for the Discovery Academy and for sharing the amazing outcomes. I just want to say that I think the perseverance that you all have put into this because you believe in it, and that is infectious to all of the students that you're touching. And it was, I'm very choked up, and I see Jennifer over there, but I really appreciate all the work that you do. It's beautiful work. And again, that perseverance to me is very infectious. So thank you for always keep going. Thank you.
Thank you. And that ends our presentations tonight. Those were pretty special. Very, very wonderful. And next up, we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Asplin.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate that. I wanted to, first of all, congratulate a mathematics teacher from Riverview High School. This morning, we were over there and we had 2,600 students in the gym at the same time for, I guess it looked like a pep rally, if you've ever been to a pep rally. And the band was out there and the cheerleaders and everyone. And it was just, for me, it brought back my old principal days of being out there during pep rallies. And it was fantastic. But the DOE was here, Jacob Oliva, Senior Chancellor, he was here. And let's see, Stephanie from the Milkins Educator Award Foundation, I believe. They were there to give one of our math teachers, Ashley Hernandez, an award, and the award was $25,000 today, a cash prize of $25,000. Yes, it was amazing. Ms. Hernandez is actually an alum from Riverview High School, and as I said, she teaches math there. And her students, after she received the award, her students came out of the stands and they were able to get a picture. And it was students from this year and previous years, and it was just pretty amazing. And I do want to say congratulations or kudos to Riverview High School, having 2,600 students in the gym, and everyone just was amazing. All the students were terrific, and I just appreciate the hospitality that Riverview had this morning. It was a great morning with that award. Also, just a reminder to parents and students, we have a mini break on April 15th. Yes, that's tax day, but it's also no school day. So just be aware of that. And then also the Family Access Portal, just parents and guardians, you're strongly encouraged to create one if you don't have one, but also consider checking your existing portal. Make sure that your information is correct in that portal. And then I have two other recognitions. The Sarasota County Academic Olympics All-Star Team earned third place in the state at the 35th Annual Commissioners Academic Challenge. Oscar Collin Castruita from Suncoast Polytech High School, Alexia King from Venice High School, Ursula Kushner from Riverview High School, Nora Mitchell from Booker High School, and Max Rudin from Pineview School, and Jack Wardlaw from Venice High School were all on that team, and all those students worked well together and played a crucial role in the success of the team. And what I thought was great about that team is they were from all different high schools working together during this team, and they really did a great job coming in third place. So congratulations to them. And then also Suncoast Polytech First Robotics Team. They won the Rookie Inspiration Award, and the Robotics Award competition was in Orlando. It was a regional competition. 60 other teams from across Florida and the southern states, and as far away as the Netherlands, Brazil, United Kingdom, and Turkey were involved in that, and they won the Rookie Inspiration Award. So congratulations to those students. And then finally, we do have, just so that you know, we have a work session on April the 12th for anyone that's interested in tuning in or coming. And the topics for that work session, we are going to have a legislative update. Also, Amber Wood will be here to talk about Florida House. We're also going to look at the progress monitoring of strategic plan goal number 3. Also talk about the operating budget and impact fee study. We'll talk about that as well. Capital improvement plan is a topic. Elementary progress monitoring is also a topic. And then the new charter school application. So there's a lot to do on that day, and it actually runs from 9 to 3:30 for those of you who are interested. Those are the topics that we will have for that work session. And again, that's on April the 12th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Asplin. Next up, we have the hearing of citizens. At this point in the meeting, we're going to hear from citizens wishing to speak who have completely filled out and submitted a citizen's card. If your full name is not written on the card or you have failed to complete the card, your name will not be called. Furthermore, speakers addressing the school board shall not make remarks which are irrelevant to the business of the school board or which are abusive, threatening, defamatory, obscene, profane, or otherwise of a disorderly nature. As such, it is not a forum for attacking individual employees or school board members. Any such complaint should be submitted in writing to the superintendent. It is unlawful to disrupt or interfere with a school board meeting, and any such action may result in a misdemeanor or offense of the second degree. At the discretion of the presiding officer pursuant to Florida Statute 1001.372(3), which for purposes of public comment tonight is me, any individual who interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of this meeting will be removed. This is a business meeting of the school board, and the public expects that we conduct it in an orderly, efficient, effective, and dignified manner. We humbly ask that you act as you were taught to as a child, be respectful of others, and treat them as you would want to be treated. Finally, as public servants elected by the people of this county, we will listen with open minds and open hearts to your comments. We respect your First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and as a citizen of this great country, you must understand that your rights are not absolute. So you are free to speak your mind, but you cannot defame an individual or yell fire in a crowded theater. With rights come responsibilities, and so we begin. And I'll turn this over now to Mr. Edwards, who will call on those members to come forward, and he will call 2 or 3 people at a time to come forward, and these people will be speaking on agenda items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as a reminder, you have a total of 2 minutes regardless of the amount of items that you'd like to discuss. As you'll hear in a little while, agenda item 40 has been pulled. Please don't speak on that item, but if you'd like to speak at the general comments at the end, just let me know when you're at the podium and I'll include you at the general comments. So first three speakers, Lisa Schur, Melissa Bakandi, Michelle Posey.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Lisa Schur, and I represent Support Our Schools. Today, the board will vote on agenda item number 15, approval of the contract between Safe Children Coalition and the School Board of Sarasota County. I strongly support the approval of this contract. The contract being voted upon is a 4-year contract in the sum of $101,418. The services being provided for the period January 14th through June 30th of this year will be $16,900. The funds provided to pay for this contract are from an ESSER grant, which stands for the Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief Fund. These funds were a part of the American Rescue Plan, and Florida received approximately $7 billion from the United States Department of Education in ESSER funds. These funds were intended to sustain the safe operation of schools and equitably expand opportunity for students who need it most, particularly those most impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Safe Children Coalition is a nonprofit, community-based care provider of education, prevention, diversion, and child welfare services, including adoption and foster care. SCC is the successor organization to the YMCA. It's a Florida incorporated not-for-profit tax-exempt organization, which was incorporated in 1995. SCC believes every child has a right to a public education, but it recognizes that when a child's home is in turmoil, it can be overwhelming to navigate school and social services systems. Through their Schoolhouse Link program, which is the subject of this contract, they work as an advocate to help students in transition attend and succeed in school. Schoolhouse Link operates under a contract with the Sarasota County School Board and serves as the district's official homeless liaison. I personally know a family that receives services from SCC and can attest to the fact that they are there when no one else is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Wilson.
Melissa Bakandi. Board members, Dr. Asplin, my name is Melissa Bakandi, and I'm here to bring persistent public pressure to the Sarasota County School Board to operate in the sunshine. I'm so happy that you pulled number 40, or agenda number 40, policy 3.17, because I was afraid that you were not really putting the student first, and it was not benefiting the student, but benefiting the district. I won't talk more about that. Maybe we'll have a time to talk about that later. But agenda item number 26, items exempt from the bidding process. It should be obvious to everyone now that the school board has an aversion to the sunlight. But when you attempt to exempt things from the bidding process, it appears you are intentionally hiding things from the public and the opposite of transparent. Is it possible that you don't want accountability so that you can award bids to friends, donors, or those you owe favors to? Please keep all bidding in the sunshine with a minimum of 3 bids, regardless of the dollar amount and regardless of the bid type. Again, if you're not doing anything wrong, you would be happy to be transparent with the public. In fact, it's your job and your fiscal responsibility. Bottom line, this board has betrayed the public's trust one too many times and needs to be held accountable on every level. Thank you.
Teresa
No
DeWitt.
clapping, please.
Michelle Posey, District 3. Item 26, the care and conditioning for classroom supplies. I think I'm just going to double down on what Melissa said. I think that it just is in bad taste to not have the competition bids there. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. As you say, with great rights comes great responsibility, and I think you have the responsibility to get three bids. I'll skip item 40 as well. Item 42, I did actually get an email from Shirley, so it answered some of my questions. The Ritz-carlton event, I know it's done by a donation from the Barancik Foundation of $130,000 for what I think is teacher training.
for 2 days, but it dawned on me that we actually have over 5,000 square foot of air-conditioned space at our disposal here in the school system between our schools and this beautiful district building. So I'm not really sure if maybe we could take that 130,000 and maybe give it directly to a teacher. Just in these trying times, that might speak volumes. And lastly, I thought it was really awesome that we included policy 5.56 regarding school health services. It says that you will collaborate with the State Department of Health, which we should note operates under the authority of the State of Florida Department of Health, which operates under the authority of the Florida State Surgeon General, which operates under the authority of the governor. So we should at no time have a board member who arbitrarily makes a decision to have a healthcare decision based off of, I don't know, he has no medical background, yet it affected an entire district regarding the positivity rate for COVID. So it's refreshing that we can all agree that that was really unethical and corrupt, and I'm glad to see it in the agenda items. Thank you.
Carol Lerner.
John Wilson. First, before I start speaking, I'd like to see where on the policy it says I can only speak about one agenda item for 2 minutes. It doesn't say that in the policy. So
It says you can speak about as many agenda items as you'd like in the 2 minutes that you have.
Where does it say that? I'd like to see it. What'd you say? Where does it say that?
We're not going to argue about it now, John. Begin to speak and we'll discuss it later.
See, that's the problem. Always discuss it later because it doesn't say that anywhere. So I'm going to talk about agenda item 38, and you guys have it down as goal 3, strategic 3. So you're creating 6 new jobs. Here we go again, to where recruit, recognize, and retain premier workforce. Now, you know what I really love is the people from the Discovery Academy were amazing. You had a group of people in here that made a difference. What I really love is you couldn't tell who was vaccinated or unvaccinated out of those people. I would like to see you guys start spending money on the students where it needs to go. You know, more reading professionals, aides, whatever it has to be. We have a habit of the last couple of years creating high-paying jobs for everybody. What, you haven't had people that has done what these people are getting hired to do this whole time? So we're just going to throw some more money at it? I want to start seeing money go where it belongs. Too many times we're not investing in the right people.
Carol Lerner, POPS SOS. Tonight I am pleased to support items 14 and 15 on the agenda, which will fund and deliver wraparound services to vulnerable populations, particularly the growing number of homeless students in our schools. Given the unprecedented increase in housing costs here in Sarasota, where the rate of increase is amongst the highest in the nation, Sarasota schools will see more and more students slipping into homelessness or coming to school hungry because families are cutting back on necessities like food to scrape it together the money to pay, in some cases, a 50% increase in rent. POPS and SOS see these contracts as important first steps, but we would like to see a more comprehensive model implemented through the establishment of community partnership schools, eventually in all of Sarasota's Title I schools. Community partnership schools provide a comprehensive medical, mental health, social, recreation, and educational wraparound services, not only to students, but also to their families and even to the surrounding community. Not only are these services of the highest quality, but each community school is uniquely designed based on an extensive needs assessment. The need for strong public schools, including community schools, has never been greater, especially given that Sarasota Schools is now reviewing an application from Charter School USA to establish a college preparatory academy at Welland Park in Northport, while the district is actually pretty soon will be breaking ground for 2 public schools. The application is done in the name of Florida Charter Education Foundation, but that hides the fact that the Charter School USA, the second largest for-profit charter school management corporation and one of the most predatory, is fully behind it. Charter School USA, through a gaggle of for-profit companies set up by its owners, suck money out of their network of schools into the pockets of their very wealthy owner and controllers. We will be explaining more about this company in the weeks ahead. But let me close by saying our children are not for profit. Say yes to community partnerships. Say no to for-profit charter schools.
Okay, I'm Teresa DeWitt. I had not planned on coming down here this evening. As you see, I have two wonderfully behaved kindergartners waiting. So in the spirit of it being Child Abuse Prevention Month, I would like to ask for where are all the presentations? We are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on mental health contracts and providers. And so it would really be nice for this month for us to really try to bring out more of that, of what we saw earlier. I had a few questions since I am here. I was forced to come down here to present my information, and so I have a few questions. Is the entire board aware a parent now has to be present to submit any concerns? Is the entire board aware emailing concerns was temporary because now it is believed everyone can attend now that COVID is over? Is the entire board aware that parents' written concerns are not being scanned into the minutes like we were told? Is the entire board aware the current board chair stated she wants more individuals with credentials to speak, therefore promoting an inequitable dissent of parents? So I've come down here to have my information listed and documented. I have included the SEL survey and the opt-out, opt-in form, and I've also included the human sexuality instruction opt-out, opt-in form. Hopefully we'll have equitable representation and help the district adhere to the new law since we are being sued again. I have included the concerns of the Unite Us contract with the informed consent, which continues to be illegal in its current state. For example, the Homeland Security E-Verify system is required to be used and is not mentioned in the informed consent. So I have a folder for all of you. Hopefully you would look at this and consider, but possibly these forms might benefit the district. Also to parents, this will be uploaded tonight to over 2,000 parents, so they're able to bring these forms to your principals, and they're able to have a more equitable choice in their decisions. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you all for your comments. Madam Chair, that concludes the hearing of citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. We'll move on with the agenda. Now we move into the consent agenda. Do we have any additions, corrections to the agenda? I know that we do. Dr. Asplin?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do. 2 addendums were added to item number 8, the instructional classified personnel report. Also, a field trip was added to the agenda. Item number 16, approval of Suncoast Technical College students to attend the Project Manufacturing National Competition, April 11th through the 13th. Item number 39, approval of new job description for high school athletic director has been moved to a future agenda. And item number 40, approval to advertise the revised school board policies have been moved also to a future agenda.
May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I move the consent agenda as amended.
Second? Any discussion?
Second.
I think I said second, but please vote. What? Oh, I'm sorry, Bridget Ziegler.
It's just a comment, so I'll vote. No, I wanted to highlight this doesn't get too much excitement, and knowing what I do in my private sector world. Item number 36, we have our approval for insurance property program. I know that gets everyone excited to focus on that, but I would be remiss if I didn't highlight our very own risk head of risk, which is Mrs. Lynn Peterson. And the reason I do that is because, again, a lot of these don't get much focus, but when you consider the large enterprise of what her department has to oversee, whether it be property and casualty insurance, but they also oversee health and benefits, which is a huge undertaking when you consider the important focus that we have for our, when we think about benefits, attracting and retaining. And I know I've spoken with her a number of times on a variety of issues when it comes to risk, and all of those things are key, because the more ahead of that we are, the better we protect our general fund, which then goes to the classroom. So I just wanted to thank her for her service and highlight all of the work that she does.
Thank you. Please vote. And the motion passes unanimously.
I believe now we're on item
We're on
38,
new
new
business.
business. I move the approval of the new and revised job descriptions aligned with, well, those have been pulled, right? The new job descriptions were pulled? Are those still on?
38.
Those are still on.
All right.
It's
I
item
move the
38.
approval of the new and revised job descriptions that are aligned with the 2022-2023 budget.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Any discussion?
I would like the superintendent to give us a brief overview of what they are and why we're doing this.
Ms. Corcoran, do you have those with you?
I mean, I
call on Mrs.
applaud that you're making these decisions to make it look more like what you're wanting
Right.
to see in a district and to move us forward, and also, using some of these funds that we're getting from Recovery Act.
That is correct.
But I think an overview is
That is correct. And we, as you said, we have the strategic plan, and there are positions that we have to help us work through that strategic plan over the next 3 years. Ms. Corcoran will talk about those in just a moment. One of the things that I did want to mention that the jobs that aren't showing on this one, because we've talked about it before many times, we do have 113 instructional positions that we are putting in schools. So we are putting new folks in our schools to help with our instruction, our reading, and so forth. Earlier this year, I did put 23 behavior specialists and 14 instructional facilitators into our elementary schools to help us with behavior and reading, coaching, and interventions. These 113 new instructional positions are ones in which most of those are ones that principals will be able to select a new person based on what they need, so that we have so we're equitable at our schools based on the students' needs at those particular schools. So I just wanted to first of all say that, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Corcoran.
Good evening, everyone. So as Dr. Asplund mentioned, there are some job descriptions that are new because of the normal budgeting cycle or revised, and there are others that are in direct alignment with the American Rescue Plan funds and the strategic plan alignment. So, and when I was looking at the attachments, it appears that there may not be a couple of items that we had discussed during the workshop. So I don't know, we'll probably have to bring those back. But I noticed, for the normal budgeting process, we had a background and fingerprinting specialist. This is for us to keep up with all of our fingerprinting every year. We have to do a Florida Department of Law Enforcement review of everyone's fingerprints who works for the district, and every 5 years we have to do a national review with the FBI. That is a large task to keep up with, and it's kind of been housed in a couple of different locations. We want all of the fingerprinting to be housed out of the Safety and Security Office. So that's the one position. There's also the position of police captain. As you know, we have 2 officers who serve as second in command under the chief, and this is to recognize their title as appropriate and their pay rate as appropriate. The one I didn't see attached was the sergeant, which was the same kind of realignment for the pay levels to compare them to their counterparts. Just as an example, we had a recent promotion, and that individual went from being an SRO at a school to being a sergeant over many schools and many SROs and was making $700 more a year. So we need to fix that. So that's that one. We also have administrative positions that are at our schools that we are combining now with a registrar assistant in order to assist our very large elementary schools. We have a couple of elementary schools reaching close to 1,000 students. And so they will be serving as an assistant to the registrars at those schools to help us get through all of that process of getting the kids registered and everything. In the facilities department, Jody has requested a change out of one position for another new position, which is a payroll processor and somebody to help with timekeeping. Facilities is a very large department, and we have a lot of custodial staff who take time off, work a lot of overtime, and it's just a lot to keep up with. And so he took a position that he had already, and he's converting it to this position to help support his staff. And then as far as I think the rest are related to the strategic plan. So we have strategic planning and special projects leads. These are positions, we have so many things being implemented as a result of our strategic plan, particularly when it comes to technology resources. And so we need individuals who can run these and herd the cats and keep things moving forward. So there's one for the instructional side and one for the operational side of the house. There's also a training coordinator for the operations side. We have lots of professional development with regard to our instructional staff, but we have not had anyone whose task it is to keep the operational side of the house moving forward with career ladders and training. And so that's another position. And then there's a supervisor of professional learning. We currently have someone who's doing it, but we need a little bit more robust in the area of PD for our instructional staff as part of the strategic plan. And then there's a program manager under the CTE division for college, career, and life readiness. So I think those are the positions. I think the two that might have been missing from the list were this college and career life readiness manager and the sergeant position, but those are your positions.
Okay, Mrs. Rose?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I find it illogical that we have all these grouped into one because I support the safety pieces and the school resource officer pieces. I cannot support the district administrator pieces. I feel like my emphasis, and I think that there's a need for a critical focus on the support in our classrooms. I understand that you've added 100, and if I recall, you said 113 or such positions. I look at that in 2019, we were ranked number 3 in the state of Florida according to our Florida school grade. And that's typically where we've been traditionally. And I look at 2021 and we don't talk a lot about it, even though there are counties, school districts that chose to not publicize their grade. We have, every district has earned the total points for ranking towards that grade. And we've dropped to number 6, and we've never been number 6. So for me, the emphasis is completely and totally on safety. I fully support that in the support in our schools, but I would like to see, we're talking about the ESSER funds, the relief funds for COVID. I would like to see those completely focused in on supporting our schools and teachers in classrooms. We have a 3rd grade reading challenge that has not improved in 7 years, according to the 3rd grade FSA reading scores. And we have a significant amount of students leaving elementary school and going to middle that can't read a grade level, which impacts their learning in all content areas, as well as students leaving middle and going to high school. So my focus will remain in the classrooms and not with continuing to add, and keeping in mind that the amount of administrators that we've added over the last 5 years, I would like to see ESSER funds in the schools, and this is a very difficult vote for me, packing all these together in a budget for 22-23 that we haven't looked at yet. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to support this, although I want to make it clear that I do support some of the items within and distinctly do not support continuing to add district administrators. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mrs. Brown.
I do support the changes that you're making. After all, you are the head of this district. You are the one. I guess I should. I'm talking to our superintendent now. You are the one that runs the district. That's what you've been hired to do, and I know that you have been working closely with our current administrative staff and the principals at all the schools, coming up with these decisions. And we've asked you, and you've produced a new strategic plan. I think what we need to do now is support the strategic plan that the superintendent has asked for and support the superintendent. We've seen time and again when a superintendent comes in and they want to make changes that there are people that balk at it. And you wonder why things haven't improved in 7 years. Maybe because we haven't had the right leader. What now? We've got a leader who has the #1 district in the state. He knows how that district was run, and he wants to bring some of those things to our district. I think that is a very encouraging thing, and I think we need to show him full support so that our staff isn't getting missed messages. Our principals have never had as much input into their budgets and the staffing that they want at their schools. And what we're doing is giving them the support that they're asking for from the district. I mean, we're asking to make a lot of changes with the strategic plan and a lot of the things that we are required to do now with the ERISA plan, making up for the COVID. I'm glad that you stepped up and you made these changes. And I think not only do I support what you're doing, but I think we need to show you our support so that the district knows that we support you and that this is the plan we are going to have. We aren't going to be changing this next year or whatever. We need strong leadership and administrators that can reach out and help our teachers, and so that we can move the needle. Like you said, the needle hasn't been moving. I think it's time to make some of these changes and see if we can move that needle and get the third graders reading on level. And I support you on this 100%, Dr. Asplin.
Mrs. Ziegler.
Thank you. Before I go into my thoughts, Dr. Asplin, I know I'd received there was a letter on my desk. I didn't get it beforehand. Is that a possibility that could be? There was a question about a clarification about the payroll processor. If you don't mind addressing that, and I got it literally when I sat down and sent it to the superintendent, and I just want to make sure that whatever question was in there is addressed, if that's acceptable. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jody.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dumas, sorry.
Mr. Dumas will do.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment. So under the new job description that was developed in facility services, there are 5 or 6 or maybe 7 qualifications as part of that job description. But what has been removed is a bookkeeper test. What the decision was is that the bookkeeper test really did not apply to the payroll processor position. It really didn't make sense to have it on there. We do not have a payroll processor test. Ms. Corcoran and I discussed that, and I know that's something we're going to be working on in the future. So that's the one item that was pulled off. But there are 5 or 6 or 7 other qualifications on that job description. Once the qualified applicants get to facility services, the SDMT team in facility services kind of screens those, does the interviews, and they make a committee selection for who's successful in that position. So that's kind of how we got to that job description.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mrs. Corcoran, for that. A couple different things. First, I want to thank the superintendent. I know item number 40 was pulled to the next meeting, and it's a similar concern. And to be clear, I know, I think many of us have our one-on-one discussions with the superintendent, so a lot of these things that we're saying here are not surprises, but that for the sake of the public understanding where we are, what our thoughts are, and why we take positions in a various way, and it's not about supporting or not supporting, but we have to hold ourselves accountable to the positions we take and vice versa. So, but I want to thank the superintendent for moving item number 40 to the next board meeting because it included 10 different policies, 3 of which were new, and I guess 7 that are being restructured, and I think each one affords its own action item. And similarly, I think that was something we had talked about with the job descriptions. I think it benefits if it doesn't need to be laborious, or if it is, that's just part of our job, but it allows for each independent job description and us as board members to take action on that. So I would agree with Mrs. Rose in that aspect that my hope was to see that these were also expanded on an individual basis. And I'll make a suggestion at the end here. But, the one part that I think is, again, there's been a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, a lot of things that we've been involved in as far as one-on-ones with staff, with executive leadership. And I know that it's trickled down to the school-based leadership. I'm very encouraged and excited, and especially in the meetings that I've had with our principals, they are very excited about having the autonomy to pick the position that they believe is really going to make the difference for their individual school. And so I think that needs to be applauded because each school has different needs, and we have these instructional leaders at the forefront as principals, and they know what is best with their school. And so having that support and that autonomy and empowering them with the expectation that, hey, this is where you're going to move the needle, and that's the superintendent's role to make sure that those are achieved. And then that trickles up to the board where we have a strategic plan, and the superintendent as the instructional leader makes those decisions, and then it comes down to, we allow support, whatever those are. Certainly we may have different ideas of where we'd like to see the money go. However, at the end of the day, it comes down to outcomes, and that is what I am focused on. And I think Mrs. Rose also touched on a number of things. And, when we look at where we are as a district, yes, we've had a couple challenging years through COVID, but one thing that I hear that this district constantly talks about is the pride that we have, not only in the amazing human capital and the spirit and all of the demonstrations that we saw today, but is the fact that we've maintained our A grade, and we are no doubt very, very, very close, teetering right above moving down to a B. And so every single moment that we can be focused on that instructional aspect to maintain that and ensure that we're providing those outcomes is where I believe every ounce of our energy should be. With that said, I'm kind of torn in this manner because I really would like to see these individual job descriptions listed out, because there are some that I support. There are some that I have more of a challenge with. I know one was pulled off, and I appreciate that. Again, in conversations with the superintendent, I think it came down to, in my position, any of these, at the end of the day, I want to be very explicit about what they're going to do. We'll bring up the payroll processor, and I think just to give for the viewing public. When you think about this past year, we constantly talk about how challenging it has been to hire, whether you're talking about food and nutrition, whether you're talking about facilities, and we have had a number of members of staff that will do additional duty days and step up and help out those various departments, and that results in overtime. And I've had members of staff reach out to me because in order to process that overtime, it can have a delay. And so that's a very real-time example of why this is a reasonable position, because if we're talking about supporting our staff that have stepped up, you want to make sure that they're being provided the compensation for that as soon as possible, but there's a bandwidth aspect. So that's something that makes sense to me, and I support that. I think that the strategic plan and project lead, I am excited about that because there's something that I've said a million times, and I'm going to more focus on the special project lead. We have so many initiatives in this district, and we are spending a lot of money, and this has been since I've got on the board, and I feel like I've brought this up a number of times, that it's almost a new initiative, but we very seldomly see that we get rid of any other ones. And so really having the accountability of understanding, okay, what are we investing? What is actually moving the needle? What's being successful? What's not? And get rid of the ones that aren't. And so I know that the superintendent, and I'm going to actually ask the superintendent to expand upon that particular position just a little bit more, because I want to make sure I'm clear on it. I know it says strategic planning, but specialist project lead. Can you speak to that a little bit? I would pull this up, but I can't with the voting queue. Can you speak to that position, that position?
Which one?
The specialist project lead.
Specialist project lead.
Strategic planning and specialist project lead. That's one of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or Mr. Dumas.
Is that the one that's going to oversee the strategic plan?
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to comment on those two positions, one for instructional, one for operational, yes. And so they'll help oversee deadlines, implementation of the strategic plan, but then more importantly, as we identify specific projects within the strategic plan, they touch multiple departments, multiple sections within the entire organization. And so these people will actually be the project lead. So when the project is identified as being part of the strategic plan, not only do they oversee the strategic plan, but the individual projects in terms of who, what, where, and when, to make sure we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's with who's on the team to make sure we're implementing correctly, making sure agendas are set correctly, making sure that there's accountability in the project success across the district. So, for example, in one of our strategies for Goal 5 is to really look at all IT systems within the entire district and make sure we've got the right systems in place, we don't have redundancy, and that we're utilizing them effectively. For example, work order systems. There are at least 2 work order systems in the district where 2 separate departments are using different systems. Do we need 2 different systems? If we do, okay, but if we don't, can we consolidate? So once we make a decision on we're going with one work order system, obviously there's some implementation there, and having somebody own that part of the strategic plan, that project, is super important. We all have good intentions. We all want to do a lot of things and make sure we are keeping costs down for the district, but at the end of the day, we can cost ourselves more money if we don't implement projects correctly the first time everybody's on the same page. So these 2 positions would be key in my mind, not only as overseeing strategic plan deadlines, but the implementation of those projects as you dig down into the strategies.
Thank you so much. And who do they report to? And I'm sorry, I don't have the organizational chart in front of me because we've been talking about, we've been talking about these over months. And so there's been different handouts, different supporting documents to substantiate what we're talking about, but I don't have them in front of me. So when it comes to that particular one, because I think that's an important one, who do they, because you've said something about the accountability, and I know we talked about this extensively, who does that position, who do they report to? Not person, but position.
Yeah, so in the IT department, up through Denise Cantalupo in accountability department, many of these projects we have identified all have an IT piece of it. So these would be people with an IT technical type of a background that could implement these projects. So again, up through Denise Cantalupo's chain of command in that department. Specific who they report to, I'd have to defer to Denise in terms of her org structure.
Okay, no, just I don't want the person, just the position. Dr. Espin, thank you so much, Mr. Dumas. Is there a possibility that we can expand upon these so that we can have individual items that are voted on as opposed to the bundle?
So we can certainly do that. Let's not blow this out of proportion either. Just to recall, like I said, 113 instructional positions. We're talking about 5 administrative positions. 5. Just 5. There's 3 project managers that Mr. Dumas just talked about. And I thought when you said project leads, I didn't know what you were saying. Those are project managers. 3 of those and a fingerprint person. That's 4 of them right there. So we can get you whatever information you want, but I just wanted to stress that there's only 5, and those are the types of positions that we have. And I know that your turn to speak, so I'll wait till my turn to speak.
No, that's okay. I appreciate you. And Madam Chair, and I'm sorry, I've gone back and forth. The 2 final questions, I think, are as it pertains to the items that Mrs. Corcoran had mentioned, they're not on here. And again, I'm going back to picturing that spreadsheet that Mrs. Corcoran and we sat down and during our one-on-one that identified where the funding is coming from, what's associated to normal budget restructuring for department structure, and then some are based on ESSER funds. And then there was one in particular that was a CTE. I don't remember the name because I don't have it. Is that not? And I recall a previous board meeting that was not going to move forward. Is that moving forward? It's getting complicated to really follow where we're at when we're kind of chunking it in separate times.
So if you're talking about the CT manager situation, yes, it was cheaper than looking at the program specialist.
So that has changed since the last board meeting when we discussed
that. That has gone from a program specialist to a manager, and mostly because it was much cheaper.
Okay, but that's not.
If I may, too, just so everyone understands as well. A few board workshops ago, we went through the entire strategic plan and we went through every single one of these positions. And when we brought it to a board meeting, it was voted upon, the strategic plan, which included the positions at that time when it was voted upon. And today is really looking at the job descriptions that are new and or revised. That's what it's for. So that's why you won't see all the instructional job descriptions today and some of the things that aren't on here, because it's not about the position as much as it is the job description that we're talking about today.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to close on this final point, which is something, again, to members in the public, members of staff will know that this is nothing new that I have brought up, but Dr. Asplin and I have spoken this extensively. We have, as a board policy, we have a vote on a budget, and then when it comes down to our instructional leader, the superintendent, we want them to execute, and I do believe in them having that autonomy. My concern is always been, not just with Dr. Asplin, is we add new job descriptions, but we never delete old ones, ever. And so from a transparency standpoint, and I understand it may take extra work, but it allows for more transparency. And I understand when we approve the budget, we have a organizational chart, and such. But it has been something that has concerned me for a long time, and where I would like to see as we add in, because Dr. Asplin, knowing that you are going to be adding in a lot more job descriptions or new positions, replacing other ones. Deleting the old ones because they just sit there in a bank, and it concerns me. It worries me that we have less transparency and less oversight as to what's happening. I would have liked to see these bulleted out. Again, I wanted to start on the positive. I'm very excited to see that there is 113 positions being put at the school level. There are some that I support, most of which I do. I hate that they're in a manner where I can't separate them out. And for that only reason, I will not be supporting it.
Ms. Corcoran, do you want to speak to the job descriptions that are?
Yes, because that is not the case.
I just want to make sure that we understand that.
Dr. Asplin, are you finished? Do you have more things to say?
I did. The only other thing I wanted to mention was, I agree there's work to be done. Ever since I've been here, we always talk about that, right? And we talk about how great the school district is, which it is. And if it's number 6, that's pretty darn good at 67. But we do have work to do. We can always improve. There's always room for improvement. But also remember, when you go back 7 years, you go back 10 years, however long you want to go back, in Sarasota County, for one thing, first of all, you have things that other districts didn't have, okay? For instance, a superintendent situation, and then an interim situation, and then, not a situation, you did a great job. Mitzi comes in and she's the interim for, what were you, a year and a half interim. You did a great job. So when you're looking at 7 years and you're looking at over time, things that have happened in this school district, which is different than other school districts that are possibly running like well-oiled machines because there's nothing inappropriate, or not inappropriate, but different going on. Be aware of that. Also, there wasn't a strategic plan here. For the last 7 years, there hasn't been a strategic plan. Probably more than that. But now we have one. So I agree. We have work to do, and we're doing it. We just need to make sure we can all work together and do it. So let's look at that. Let's look at where we're going in the future and how we're going to move forward with the new plans that we have, the new people we have, the different positions that we need, the positions that we put in the schools, some of the training that we're doing. There's so many good things. Let's look at that and how we can move that forward and be positive with that, and not look at what happened 10 years ago and that we dropped from number 3 to number 6. I think our scores are going to be pretty good this time. I don't know how they're going to compare to others because everybody is working hard across the state. But I can tell you this, our kids are working hard, our teachers are working hard, and we have a lot of new things. We have brand new standards, the best standards that everybody had to learn this year. We have brand new ELA textbooks. Everybody had to learn that this year. Next year, we're going to have brand new math standards and math textbooks. Yes, everybody across the state is doing that, and we are too, and we are working hard. Our teachers are working hard. I see great things on the horizon, and we need to be positive as we move forward with this information, these dollars that we want to spend, and these people we want to bring in. And let's not forget, we're talking 5 administrators out of 150 people that we're going to bring on board to help our students. So those other 113 that I mentioned, they are in the schools helping our students with interventions and so forth. And so I just want us to be aware of that please, let's move forward on a positive note and not keep thinking about what happened before. Let's move forward with this new time, this new strategic plan, and really help our students accelerate in their learning. And then we'll see where the numbers shake out. You know, if you think about it, since 2018, we really haven't had numbers. So to talk about numbers is really difficult because we really haven't had them. Last year we had them, but we were in concurrent teaching. Other districts were too, but we had a lot of quarantines. Other districts maybe didn't have as many quarantines. And like I said, other districts are well-oiled machine, and we are moving forward with new folks and a new plan. So keep that in mind too. And we're an A district. One of two still, only one of two. We're still an A district. So we're going to be okay, but we can't worry so much about the number and the ranking. We need to worry about our kids and their learning gains and moving them forward, and the numbers will take care of themselves. And I remember playing baseball. Don't think about your batting average. If you do, you're going to do terrible. You just need to go out there and hit the ball, and don't worry about your batting average, and things work out. So anyway, sorry, I'm getting off on other things, but I just want everyone to be aware of that. I think we're going to move forward in a positive direction. Let's do that. Let's move forward positively, and help our students. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, so just some points of clarification. As Dr. Asplin mentioned, there are 113 instructional positions, 5 administrative positions. It doesn't equal 152. The difference is mostly classroom aides. So they're still in our classroom. They're still supporting our teachers. And then as far as job descriptions versus positions, so we bring new job descriptions because they don't exist currently within our system. However, if they are a replacement for another job within our position control system, they are removed. So when you get the budget, you will see that the position numbers, the number of positions won't necessarily change the way you would think they would, because they're going to be going down. We'll inactivate positions that are no longer in the system and add positions as we need to. The reason that we don't, when you look at the list of job descriptions, is a very long list. The reason I think that we don't remove job descriptions is so that in the event that there's ever a need to reactivate a job description, it's already available, and it may just need some tweaking. So, for example, when Mr. Widener retired back in the day, we replaced him with an with a budget supervisor. That position did not exist. So I had that position available. Then we've, been working. Krista's worked her way up. She's now a director, which is wonderful. And there is now another budget supervisor. So the position still exists, the job description exists, but it's not an executive director level position ever again, which is what it was before. So that's what happens within the budgeting system versus the job descriptions. We can't hire without a job description for a position. We can't add a position without a job description, but we also remove positions if they're no longer active from the database so that we can make sure we stay within our budget. Not maintaining a strong control over your position control system can get you into a lot of trouble very quickly. So we monitor that very closely. So, okay, thanks.
Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to respond to a couple of things I've heard up to this point. Close to becoming a B. I would say that didn't happen this year. I think there's a time period that we approach up to becoming a B district. And I think that bringing Dr. Asplin on board and asking him to put together a strategic plan is addressing all of those concerns. I liken the strategic plan to my background, which is business, to a business plan. And I note that most everybody up here are not educators. With the exception of Ms. Rose, and Ms. Rose would certainly understand how difficult it is to move reading scores, albeit 7 years, but it's a tough row to hoe. So having said that, I always talk to Dr. Asplin about his plan, but I'm not an educator, and I have to rely on his judgment and his background and his expertise. So that's where I've put that. Along with that, to address those 7 years of bad reading scores, I've asked, and I think all of us have seen, a report that Dr. Asplin had put together of reading programs by school by district. And so to do what you've asked for, Mrs. Ziegler, I've asked for that as well. If we're adding and buying, what is not working and what are we deleting and what are we removing? And that format of that report, because I have asked for it, is the beginning of what you're asking for so that we can begin to look at all of the programs, not just reading, but all of the programs, including what we're doing with strategic plan and the purchases we're doing with strategic plan within the first year, because not all of them are going to work, and we need to know which ones are not working so that we can remove those and look for ones that are better. So I'm looking at that. My executive oversight from, and again, I'm using my business background as a board of directors. It's not my job to tell the CEO or the superintendent who to hire and what to hire. That's not my job. My job is to make sure that we're staying on budget, we're staying close, and that I come to these meetings prepared for these votes. I know if a position was added, did we remove one? Because I asked that question specifically in our one-on-ones. I asked them specifically to Mrs. Corcoran. And I know if a position is, well, it's a replacement of this one, which we're not going to use, and it's goosing the salary a bit. So I know all of that so that when I come prepared to vote on 38, I know that this is the right decision for me, and I will be supporting it because I have to rely on Dr. Asplin's expertise of putting together the strategic plan that we've asked for and giving him the resources to deliver the outcomes I know we all want.
Well, I too will be supporting this, and I have the confidence that I think we need to have in Dr. Asplin. That's why we hired him. And as I said, if that didn't work out, we know what the other alternative would be, and we hope that that's never the case. But, you know, we have so many things that we have to report on now. You know, I think of all of you sitting over here in your chairs. I mean, it's not like you don't have 100 new things that you have to report on to somebody in Tallahassee or someplace, and there's always an added component to what is required of us. And I think that anything that we can do that will help in the alignment and the completion of fully implementing the strategic plan, as I know all of our staff and our superintendent is very hard at work on, I support. I am not a micromanager. I am not a person that needs that level of detail. But I know that we hired a superintendent. I know that we have an audit done. I know that we have an attorney. And the things that we are responsible for, I believe in, and the day-to-day operation of this school district is the decision and the impetus of our wonderful superintendent. So I will be supporting this as well. Please vote. If the vote button works. Let's see. Yep. And the motion carries 3-2. The two dissenting voters are Mrs. Ziegler and Mrs. Rose. Can we now move to the next item?
Items 39 and 40 have been pulled, so I move item 41, the approval to change the time of the May 17th board meeting from 6 p.m. to 3 p.m. to accommodate Northport schedule. We're going to be at the Northport Hall, and then we're going to have the graduation later that night.
Second.
I know that this will facilitate our being down in Northport and all of us going to the graduation. So that's a great thing. So I look forward to that, and that works out with their schedule as well. So if there's no other discussion, could we please vote? If I can get my little thing to work.
My mouse wasn't working, and I think I made it go away.
My mouse is problematic. I just got it to work. Surely it's a little different on this machine.
I
And the
vote,
motion,
I vote yes.
All right.
all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The vote carries unanimously. All right. All right, all right, all right. Item number 42. May I have a motion, please?
I move the approval of the agreement between the Ritz-carlton and the Sarasota School Board funded by the Charles and Marjorie Barancic Foundation.
Second.
Dr. Asplin, would you like to discuss that, please?
Yes, ma'am. We have PLC training, our first PLC training. That's our kickoff for PLCs. We have 358 people who will be in that training July 27th through the 28th. The Charles and Marjorie Barancic Foundation are funding this, and we are so appreciative of their generosity in doing this. I really do appreciate it. Remember, this is Goal 1, Strategy 3, our PLC training straight out of our new strategic plan. I know the comment came up about using schools. Yes, we did look at that. Completely understand that question. There are many things happening at the schools, but also I wanted to stress that, with 358 people and having to have 5 breakout sessions that are going to require around 70 to 90 people in each one was just not conducive to what we have. Yes, we have large auditoriums, but then we break out in breakout sessions with those 358 people. Also at our schools, remember, we have summer school that is going on as well. We also strip and wax floors. We remodel. We clean. It was 2 days before pre-planning. And so there's quite a few reasons why we did not go with our schools, but we did look in our Sarasota community. One of the things that most districts do is send all those folks out of town to Orlando or out of state, and they end up having to pay travel expenses, including air and hotels and stipends and so forth. We didn't want to do that. We decided we wanted to have it right here in Sarasota. And here in Sarasota, it's difficult to find places that'll hold 358 people. But we tried different hotels. We had some that were already booked, and the Ritz gave us a great deal. And so we're going to the Ritz. We're going to have a very professional, comfortable setting for our teachers as we kick off this PLC training, which is so very important. We have teachers from each of our schools who will be attending that kickoff. And so it's very important. And again, I appreciate the Barancic Foundation paying for all of the costs, funding it completely. So thank you very much. Oh, and the reason that I'm bringing it today as a contract is because we will be there. We'll be physically there. And we are named on the contract, obviously, because we are the ones utilizing the space. And so with that, I wanted to make sure that we were transparent and bring that in front of the board, even though we are not paying for it, so that everyone knows that we have this contract and what we're doing with it. Thank you.
Please vote.
I didn't sign on because we only had the one, so can we do it by voice vote?
Oh,
please?
yes, I'm sorry. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. And the vote carries unanimously. Wonderful. And now we're going back to the hearing of citizens. Mr. Edwards, do you have cards?
I do.
How many?
11. So we're going to call the first 3. Jean Krupp, Lisa Schur, Paulina Testerman. Is Mr. Krupp here? He left. Okay, Lisa Schur. And after that, we'll have Melissa Bakandi.
Thank you very much. I'm here today to offer my comments on the newly enacted parental rights for some, but not for everybody law, which is what it really should be titled. The law as currently drafted is so vague as to be unenforceable, some have argued, and I would tend to agree. Let me state that I believe no one should offer sexual education to a child in school without their parents' express permission. But as we all know, but most conveniently forget to acknowledge, we never did have sex education in any K through 3 classes. And to the extent that it was offered to older children, parents have always been provided with the opportunity to opt their children from such instruction if they saw fit. And I agree 100% with that. As we've come to expect from the current Florida administration, this was a solution to a non-existent problem. What the law was really designed to do is to ensure that we never acknowledge the existence of any LGBTQ plus child or adult. The law seeks to shame or demonize anyone who is not heterosexual. The parental rights for some but not for everybody law is a blatant attempt to violate the constitutional rights of a segment of the population. We have government violations of the First Amendment free speech rights of individuals, as well as the 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection. A lawsuit has been filed, and we shall see whether the law survives judicial scrutiny. In the meantime, we're forced to deal with legislation that is so vague and poorly drafted that we must wonder if it was plagiarized in the same manner from an already existing law as the original parental rights for some but not for everybody law. A first-year law student could have done a better job than this poor mess of wordsmithing. So now we need to come up with a school board policy on how to implement the parental rights for some but not for everybody
Thank
law
you.
in
Thank you.
practice. Thank you.
Michelle Posey.
Good evening. My name is Paulina Testerman. I'm a co-founder of SupportOurSchools.com, and my daughter attends McIntosh Middle School. This past weekend, I chaperoned the McIntosh Middle School Hawks camping trip to Manatee Springs, in spite of the fact that I'm an avid camper. And I have chaperoned this specific trip 3 years ago when my son attended McIntosh. Nothing prepared me for the detour we faced with 2 days of torrential downpour, having to squash some of our learning opportunities. Due to the inclement weather, some students didn't have a chance to do water testing in the springs to assess temperature, pH, and salinity. Some didn't get to learn about controlled burns or the habitat of manatees being endangered. In spite of all of that was missed during our trip, our students managed to learn far more valuable life lessons because the teachers were prepared with countless contingency plans. During our 4-day trip, we learned vast amounts of problem-solving skills as we figured out how to extract buckets of water from our tents and sleeping bags. We learned the importance of community as we all worked together as a team to help one another. We learned the importance of selflessness as we shared towels and whatever dry supplies we had. The most valuable lesson that these students learned were lessons taught by the teachers and staff. Be prepared, don't complain, be flexible, be helpful, don't give up. These lessons are more important than the pH of water. I assure you our students were tired after this trip. If the students were tired, the chaperones were plain worn out. And if the chaperones were worn out, the teachers and staff were teetering on the brink of exhaustion. I have no words to express the sheer awe and appreciation that I felt watching your Sarasota County teachers and staff work around the clock to make the most of this trip despite the circumstances. These are teachers and staff who volunteer their time to provide these students an amazing hands-on learning experience, and I want to make sure the school board recognizes just how amazing McIntosh Middle School really is. Big thank you to Mrs. Rieger, Mrs. Prochmore, Mr. Salzman, Mr. Senseneg, Mr. Gwatney, Mrs. Ford, Mr. Davis, Mr. Walker, Miss Sierra, Miss Egan, Miss Shaughnessy, and the rest of the Hawks school and staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Wilson.
School board members, Dr. Asplin. I just have a few general comments and questions. The first item is, why do we allow pride flags celebrating sexual perversion to hang in the classroom? These are sexually suggestive flags that could be offensive to some people. I believe this would fall under the hostile environment sexual harassment policy in 2.71. It is unacceptable to have pride flags in the classroom. This is a political agenda and should not be tolerated. If these aren't removed immediately, then I am calling on all Christian teachers to place Christian flags in their classrooms, as well as all Republican teachers to place GOP flags in their classrooms. In addition, I am calling on all parents to join together for a class action lawsuit against this school district. Item number 2. With recent passage of the Parental Rights and Education Bill, this school district must cut ties with embracing our differences, at least in K through 3 grades. Embracing our differences is sponsoring field trips that promote sexuality and gender identity discussion, and this is a violation of the new law. And item number three, why is woke student political activism being encouraged by Riverview and Pineview teachers? Riverview and Pineview teachers are alleged to have organized and encouraged participation in woke, left-leaning, Democratic-run, pro-LGBTQ political demonstrations during school. The press was even invited. How ironic, parents aren't even allowed to walk their kids into school, but the press can come onto campus for a teacher-sanctioned political rally on the taxpayer's dime. Number four, be advised that your equity committee was formed outside of the sunshine and met in secret for over a year. The equity committee and its contribution to the strategic plan are avoidable. This was supervised by Dr. Asplin, and this is a violation of sunshine laws. And be advised that further legal action is coming. Yet again, upper level administration of Sarasota County Schools, as well as Ms. Brown, Ms. Goodwin, and Mr. Edwards, show that they cannot be trusted. Thank you.
Christine Hervig.
How sweet.
Michelle Posey, District 3. I wanted to bring up today, it's almost been 60 years, actually exactly 60 years ago, that the Supreme Court ruled in Engel versus Vitale about school-sponsored prayer and taking that out of our schools. And then over the course of history, we've really just taken God out of our schools altogether. And the only reason I bring that up is because many things take the form of a religion and belief system. I could ask each one of us here today, what's on the throne of your heart? What guides your decision-making, your truth, your moral compass, your right or wrong? I think that is a profound topic and has no place inside a classroom full of minors. You see, we're told to leave worship outside the classroom back in 1962, but what many fail to realize is that did not only include the main world religions. That includes anything that you treat as a religion. Stop pretending that sexual identity has not consumed some of our community the same way religion consumes others. Stop pretending that gender identity does not rule and govern your day-to-day life, similarly to how the Bible governs some. Some of you worship it. We are bound by previous governance to leave worship at home, and that includes transhumanism, pantheism, and whatever else you can think of. This includes the delicate subject of mental health. Listen, our success rate in reading scores should lead us to understand that we cannot hand over our children's mental health to the partnership of the public schools. We cannot afford to underserve or misdiagnose at the same alarming rates that we have failed our students in areas like reading. Mental health, morality issues, identity, and sexuality are simply too precious to be dealt with in a sterilized school setting. These things are little gateways to our children's hearts, a place that is precious. As King Solomon said in Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. We do not consent to handing that duty to the public schools, hence HB 1557. Thank you.
Jacqueline Ochia.
John Wilson. Dr. Aspen, I would just like to see somewhere where I can see where these positions in the schools are going to be, what schools those positions going to be. Okay, that's it. My other, I love that, Shirley, you made an excellent point for me. Maybe we needed Dr. Asplin to come to move the needle, but yourself, Jane, and Carolyn have been running this school district for the last, 15, 20 years? That you made my point better than I could make it. The other thing is, Tom, if you are a businessman and you paid for something that didn't work for 7 years, you would keep paying for it? I refuse to believe that. And I want you guys to know that the governor and the Department of Education is very interested in what goes on here. So I filed some complaints, and they are going to be looked into. So I hope that it gets done accordingly and professional. And until the reading gets done here in this county the way it needs to be, I'm going to be pushing. I'm going to be pushing on my side. So I would go ahead and disband the equity committee before there's a lawsuit, because the equity committee is illegal. We don't need a BLM leader in our school district. I decided, no more, oops, nope, you're gonna disband your illegal committee. And I don't think we need to pay Dan DeLeo any more money to represent or try to keep the equity committee. That is illegal.
Thank you. No clapping.
Ashley Cote.
Hello, my name is Christine Hervig. Sorry, I've got something in my mouth. I know that you're going to discuss the corporate school application, or the corporate charter school application at another meeting. I didn't come, I thought it was going to be on this one, so I'm just going to go ahead, in case I missed that, and address that. Behind many corporate charter schools are mega wealthy corporate conservative donors who use these schools and the push to defund and diminish public schools to further their personal political agendas. They do not have knowledge about or concern for the education of a diverse, well-informed, and empowered American population. Instead, they use their money and the political influence it buys to purchase complicit state and local politicians who will further their donors' aim of profit over all. They should not be allowed to suck off taxpayer funds that should rightfully go to the public schools, period. And I know from personal experience here in Sarasota County, from my daughter's year in a charter school, which I won't name, the abysmal lack of uninterested oversight and transparency and accountability that led to a wasted school year. And I've been looking into the Charter Schools USA founder, Jonathan Haig. Apparently, and I'm going to verify this, I can't verify that it is true, but I have been reading that he didn't put his own children, 4 children, he didn't put them in his public schools. Instead, he paid for them to go to private schools. I'm going to verify that. And may I recommend to everyone Diane Ravitch's book, Slaying Goliath, The Passionate Resistance to Privatization and the Fight to Save America's Public Schools. Thank you for letting me speak here.
Thank you.
Alexis Spiegelman.
Hi. My name is Jacqueline Ochoa. I'm a parent of a child in the Sarasota County school system. I'm here today because I want to share my family's experience with reading recovery intervention. Since my son Harry was in kindergarten, he has struggled with literacy. By second semester of first grade, he had fallen behind well below the level of his peers. Without the resources for private tutoring, frankly, we didn't know what to do. His confidence was low, he never wanted to go to school, and homework was a nightly frustration. In January of 2020, we were asked to participate in reading recovery intervention. Of course, we jumped at that chance. Harry received 6 weeks of in-person lessons before the pandemic hit, and reading recovery became Zoom sessions. Our teacher, Ms. Smith, worked with Harry one-on-one online, leaving the question with us is, will this even work over Zoom? I'm happy to share with you that Harry exited reading recovery on level with his peers. He has confidence in school, homework time is mostly stress-free. Last Christmas, he asked for the book, The Invention of Hugo Cabret. That's a really big book for a third grader. And he read all 700 pages by himself. This year, he started writing his own comic books, and his father and I see his passion and love for learning. He has been an honor roll student all year this year. I'm here today because reading recovery intervention changed my son's life. We saw such a dramatic turnaround in his grades and his attitude about school. Our story is not unique. I've talked to other parents whose children have had their lives changed by reading recovery intervention. I urge you to sit in on a lesson and talk to other parents and teachers about reading recovery before you consider revoking the funding for this intervention. Reading recovery has proven time and time again that it works. Sorry, I get a little emotional about it because it's meant so much to us. So thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dominique Forbes.
Ashley Cody, I'm requesting that these be a part of the minutes if possible. Over the past few months, I've dealt with multiple staff members for the district. Like peeling an onion, each time I try to address one procedural issue, another one arises. I'm troubled by the lack of standard operating procedure and the evident lack of adequate training for district staff. What initially prompted me to contact the district was learning that a third-party mental health vendor was reassigned to my son's school and was meeting with my son without my knowledge or consent. In addition, this person decided to reach out to someone who is not my son's parent, relative, or even listed as an emergency contact. The majority sitting on this dais assured us that things like this would not happen, but they did, and they are. In an effort to get to the bottom of why this unknown third-party counselor attempted to discuss my son's mental health with former acquaintances, I discovered yet another procedural issue. The district's database containing emergency contact information, including a list of people allowed to pick a student up from the school, was not properly updated. The database did not reflect the information submitted by me at the beginning of each school year, and contacts the district should have removed were not. The final issue, when requesting my son's educational file, there were notes on papers referencing my attendance at school board meetings. Why on earth is a teacher referencing this in a child's educational file? The only reasoning I come up with is that the district failed to implement procedures for teachers and staff about what to include in the educational file, or the district is tracking parental involvement at school board meetings for some other reasons. What would it be? I don't know. I find it a bit odd that my child and I would be singled out in regard to school board attendance. Do you keep record of all parents who attend these meetings? What policy governs the tracking of parent attendance at school board meetings? Specifically, where does this policy instruct your teachers and staff to collect and record this type of information? The behavior is entirely unacceptable,
Ashley Cote,
and it violates my rights and privacy.
Thank you. Stop the clapping.
My name is Dominique Muna Forbes, and I'm here to share with the school board the tremendous impact that the Reading Recovery Program has had on my son, Andre. Andre was retained in the first grade, and honestly, I did not think he would get past his literacy issues. Heather McAleer approached me to work with him following his retention at Brentwood Elementary, along with his first grade teacher, Jeanette Harrison. By the time the program was over, he was able to read at an early second grade level, as well as confidently identifying sight words, which has now surpassed the fourth grade level. He does not need any help with his homework. He's a self-sufficient reader, and he even reads books to his little sisters. Reading Recovery has given my son a priceless gift, and I hope the program lives on and continues to motivate students who are struggling to overcome their own issues with literacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Alexis Spiegelman, Moms for Liberty, Sarasota County. Regarding a discussion that took place in March of 2021, Jane Goodwin, Deb Gaglione, and Pat Redinger led the Zoom where they discussed guidelines for promoting safe and inclusive schools. Jane was careful to point out distinctions between policy and procedures and guidelines. Policy and procedures, that is the work that happens in the public view or in the sunshine. The guidelines were described best by Ms. Goodwin, who began working on this project over 10 years ago. Jane said, at that time, we had a superintendent who didn't really want to do the work. Now we have a new superintendent, and we just hired an equity director. The first thing Jane did was introduce the new superintendent to the Equality Florida, and the work began. Jane states, you know, procedures don't have to go before a school board. Policies do. And so I say to school boards, remember that, because sometimes it might be easier to start doing the work of training and doing the work in the schools and with the students and not bring so much before the school district because, well, we have a wide range of views from our community as to what we should be doing. So I would leave it at that. But basically, that's how it started, end quote. I was raised to believe that if you have to hide what you're doing, you probably shouldn't be doing it. This committee created the guidelines and then went on to train all of our school administrators, principals, teachers, and support staff how to use them. This is often referred to as professional development. Deb Gaglione talked about how this training gave them the opportunity to gauge how teachers' mindsets were and then influence those if they weren't in agreement with the groupthink. On the call, Patty mentioned that they felt like it was necessary necessary to put these in guidelines in writing. So I would like to know, how can the community, and most importantly parents, gain access to these internal guidelines that govern what happens at school and outside of the sunshine? We have teachers that have said, and I quote, conservative teachers have had to go underground. What about the non-discrimination statute that you are contorting to falsely establish a basis for your equity committee? A couple newer music teachers were very upset to find out that the statewide taxpayer subsidized FMEA training included
Thank you very much.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments this evening. Mrs. Chair, that concludes our hearing of Mrs. Chair.
Well, that works. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for your comments. The next monthly work session is scheduled for Tuesday, April the 12th at 9 a.m., and the next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, April the 19th at 6 p.m. Mrs. Brown, do you have some comments?
I too want to thank the people who came to speak today. I found those on the agenda items, when they spoke to it, sometimes I feel that nobody even looks at those things to see. And we had some people come forward today and talk in detail on what some of those were. And again, some of those that were done afterwards, especially the reading recovery, that almost seems like, that is about school operations, and, why would those people have to wait? So we're still, I think, trying to look at how we've made these changes, because what we've done in some instances is given people more time to speak because they get 2 bites at the apple. One thing that wasn't brought up by any of the citizens but did come forward during a email that I received, and I believe you all did too, and that was what somebody called a $50 walking fee that was asked of seniors to help pay for the graduation. And of course, if they can't afford it, we'll waive it and all of that. I'd like to know more about that fee. How many schools have it? And how much does it raise? And, could we perhaps look, or have the schools look at having, people underwrite it and have them get acknowledgement in the programs for the graduation? There's just so many things that kids have to pay for at graduation. I'd like to hear more about that. And I know we've got a full agenda at our next workshop, but if there's other people who would like to hear that, if you would share that with Dr. Asplin and our chair, so that we could maybe discuss that further, perhaps even for this year.
I know that other school districts do not have a walking fee, because I've checked with some.
Yeah, that was
And
a
they said
question
to
I
me,
asked.
"What?
Who other districts have it?
What is this?
And I don't know if we could do something even this year yet, but I think there are people in our community that would be happy to write that check and have their name in the graduation book that they help support our seniors at the different schools. It might be too late to do something this year. Hopefully not, but I just, well, we'll talk about that more at another time. Thank you.
Mrs. Ziegler?
Thank you. Well, Mrs. Brown, I agree, and I appreciate you bringing that up. And I want to applaud the principal who responded, but overall, to accommodate that family, which I understand is the practice, and I don't know if it's called the walking fee, but I know that's what it's referred to. I guess it was news to me, but I couldn't agree more. And understanding the challenges, getting ready for graduation, getting ready for college, all of the ceremonial aspects. So I would love to just dive in a little bit more and see if there's a way in which we can support our families, because there's no doubt this past year or two has been incredibly challenging in of itself. I wanted to bring up and I know I brought this up a couple times. I know I brought it up in October. I brought it up in a workshop in November. I know I brought it up in December. And Mr. McKinley, I apologize because you were not here. So please do not take this in any offense. And I want to underscore this with, when I bring things forward, they are not on a personal matter. It is in my responsibility, just like when I take votes, whether I support them or don't. It is not about a personal issue. It is about what I believe my responsibility is as one board member. So as this particular topic is, I want to make sure we have a discussion, and I was hoping this would be on a workshop, as it pertains to our legal fees. I know Dr. Asplin and I, we've spoken about this. I know I've gotten the information, and I know I've shared it with other board members. And the reality is we have a contract with Shoemaker Loop not to exceed, don't quote me specifically, Mrs. Corcoran may know this specifically, but it's about $818,000 for the annual cost. And as in October, we were at $314,000, and trending. If we maintain that trend, we were approaching at the end of last year, at the end of 2021, we were in excess and trending that we would puncture that probably in January or February. I do not have current the current year-to-date amount, but I know that we were within a 30-day period, that if they were trending in that same manner, that we would be already exceeding what that contract is. I brought this up earlier so that we could avoid having to do it in arrears, but there has to be some kind of discussion as a board member, because our responsibility, as was mentioned before, and I couldn't agree more, is making sure we're on budget and addressing things when we see those trends. So I brought it up a couple times, I know offline, I know I brought it up publicly, but my concern is that we're well beyond what the current contract is. And so if I could get an update, and I understand our workshops are heavy, but this is a responsibility that we need to address urgently. Dr. Asplin.
Yes, I thank you for that, Ms. Ziegler. I have talked to Mr. DeLeo a couple of times. I know he has been working on that request. I'm not sure where he is with that at this point. I know he was going to contact you and give you an update as to where he was, and if you wanted it on an individual basis conversation or in a workshop type conversation. And I'm not sure, did he have that conversation with you? Because, okay. So, Mike, you might want to brief us on that.
Well, I'm not sure I have a brief prepared on that, but I do have a message from Mr. DeLeo on that subject, and he says, he told me to advise you that he has some significant work almost done, and he'll be getting with you in the next, I would say, week or so from what he told me. I have not seen his work product. I'm just delivering that message in case that came up tonight.
Madam Chair, if I may follow up.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you again. I don't know that it is, if there's something that was being provided to the board, so we have an idea of where we are year to date. Like I said, I just gave off information that I had from October to December and then January. I don't have anything year to date, but I think it would be more appropriate that it not be one-off conversations. We get provided as a board the current year to date and understand as that compares to what the contract is, and then address it as a board. I personally do not believe it should be one-off conversations. I don't think as a board we hire and appoint the general counsel and the superintendent, so I just don't think that that's an appropriate manner to have it offline. I welcome the conversation with my fellow board members, but I think that would be the most appropriate place to do it.
I had a conversation with Mr. DeLeo, and I know that he's preparing it as well. And of course, this was all the devil's in the detail, but there were a lot of things that have come up this year that we really didn't expect to come up. Some litigation and some cleanup of litigation that had existed, for several years. I mean, 2014 for one piece, I know alone. So there's some other issues that are there, and I think he's trying to be very finite in his approach. And yes, I agree, we should all get that message at a workshop. So we'll figure out where he is, and we'll do an update and let you know. I had talked to him about that as well. I'm very eager to hear about this also. Mrs. Rose?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to recognize the work of the Triad staff and Riverview for providing opportunities for success for students. Very exciting, as well as recognizing our young scientists and their accomplishments and all the staff that supported that. I do want to recognize the parents that came forward in discussing the success that their student had in reading recovery. That is music to my ears. I do want to point out to those parents that I'm all for that as one board member. The latest data in reading recovery is showing that 50% of students were able to perform at grade level. So I'm excited that it's working for students, and I am accountable for the 50% of students that it isn't working for, and in particular looking at our Title I schools that have had it for many years, that have been able to score as high as a B and are functioning at a level of D and a level of F. So I'm thankful that it's working for some students, but we'll continue to address the performance of every individual student in our district. And I know that our Assistant Superintendent Renoff and his staff are looking at all those pieces and the surrounding supports for that, and I appreciate it. I do want to also say that I am in full support, I'm compelled to say I'm in full support of community partnership schools, particularly, always have been, and particularly with the things that are going on that everyone's brought up with student and family needs. And then lastly, I'm under the impression, Dr. Asplin, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there was a exceptional student education, special education parent survey. Is that correct? And if that's so, if the board can expect to get the results from that, I'd be very interested.
Yes, ma'am, I'll take care of that.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Brown?
As far as reading recovery, it's great that we can take some kids and help turn that around, but we know that we have them for part of the day, and we've got more kids, and more will be coming on board that are losing their homes right now. Our parents, were out of work. It's been a tough time, during COVID, but now with the increasing of rents and home prices, we're seeing an increase in number of students who don't have a home. And it takes a lot to overcome some of that. I mean, if kids can't be in school and their parents can't help, it's very difficult. So what we do is a part of that puzzle, and I think we do what we can, especially with the contract that we passed today, to help with homeless students. But the other issue that I wanted to address was what Ms. Ziegler brought up, and that is the court costs, legal fees. I'm concerned about it too, but I'm especially concerned about it with some bills that are in Tallahassee, and I think you were part of those bills that will be allowing parents to now sue the districts. We got a letter from somebody that wanted to know what all of our bonding was and all of this, and we've got people filing complaints. We had people here tonight said they're going to sue us. They're going to be filing these complaints. That all costs. And I think every time a school board member picks up the phone and calls our legal team, that costs. Every time we're putting through a policy change, and then the changes are happening back and forth, that all adds to the cost. So I think we need to look at what's adding to the costs of this thing, and perhaps maybe we need to look at having in-house legal teams now that we probably will be having more lawsuits against the district. So I think it's more than a one-on-one discussion. I think we probably need to look at an overall picture and, hold our breath to see what starts happening, because, I understand we are getting complaints already about, signs that are in schools, or, or if we take kids to embracing our differences, it's just frustrating. It's going to be frustrating, and it's not going to be cheap. There's going to be legal costs involved in these bills that were filed, and it's going to fall on us. And we need to make determinations on do we need to make changes, or do we need to look at in-house? I mean, so there's a big discussion I think we need to make on legal fees.
All righty. Well, that's a good note to end on, I think. And if there is no other discussion, I'm going to lower the hammer and say we are dismissed, and this is the end of the meeting. Thank you all.